Hey gang, it's Dr. Steve here. If you want to learn about anxiety, this is going to be the video to watch. I ran a poll and I found that overcoming anxiety was the number one video that people wanted more information about. So here it is. I'm going to try to be concise with you, but I want to run through with you a few different layers of anxiety and how I help people to deal with them in, I'd say, three primary ways. So the first way that we have anxiety, first of all, the first way that we have anxiety is on a near biological level. The biological level is there's a threat, there's danger, like a panic attack, like something perceived as very kind of life threatening in the moment. And so there's a biological surge of anxiety and adrenaline to help to preserve your life. Now, if you actually realize that now the event is over or your life is saved or the trauma is technically over, you're going to need to fill in this biological level of need. Now, how do we do that? Well, I want you to first know that at the biological level of need, the biological level of the need is at the level of the body, is at the level of the spinal cord, is at the level of how the pelvis and the occiput, the base of the skull, move to move cerebral spinal fluid through the actual biological processes to keep you alive. And so your spine moves bottom and top to transport nutrients through to the brain, except when we're in a trauma, when we're in a fight or flight response, when we're in a knee-jerk reactionary response to something that's potentially life-threatening, our system locks itself up to assess the danger, to assess the threat. And so it loses its natural flow and biological rhythm in the attempt to save your life. Now, if the system doesn't have a chance to really reset those rhythms, now there becomes a deficiency that we need to address. And so I want you to picture in your mind's eye that this reset of rhythm between the tailbone and the base of your skull needs to get reset in there. And it needs to get reset so this cerebral spinal fluid can go back up the spine and have proper movement and surround the brain with nutrients. And so that's a biological need. And if you ever watch a little baby, for example, sleep, if you ever watch them sleep on their stomach, what you'll notice is their whole system breathes. And with each breath, the tailbone all the way to the skull actually takes a huge movement. It's like a wave when you're watching a baby. And then when they have tension patterns, you'll notice actually the wave doesn't move the same. And so you're born with this inborn mechanism of this wave process that's totally your birthright. It's totally a biological need and it needs to get accessed. And so the first part is accessing this biological need. Now, we can do that through three major areas. In the chiropractic world, we might go through C1 or C2 area to activate a vagal tone and change the vagal tone in there. But also, there's three primary areas in which this vagal nerve branches out to various organs. So we have the lower system, we have the mid body, and we also have the upper system. All three of those have branches to the cardiovascular system, to the digestive system, and deep down to reproductive organs. So those all splay out on the vagal system. So what we can do is we can help our systems out by reassuring biologically that it's safe, that it's okay to breathe, that it's okay to reset this rhythm. And so what I'll teach people to do is either go to your belly or go to the chest or go to the mid body, whatever's available. And we begin the process of breathing in the nose and out the mouth, eyes closed. Eyes closed tells the system it's safe. Okay, so that's fair enough. That's easy enough. So how long do we need to do this? Well, if you study, well, I've done lots of research in my practice, but even just using research, I don't have it published, but research like an Institute of Heart Math says anywhere between 1 to 3 minutes. I've found 3 to 5 minutes of a smooth, coherent breathing is enough for the biological needs to start to get satisfied. So it'd be in the nose and out the mouth, nice and relaxed. And again, what we're teaching the nervous system, the vagal system, is that A, we're safe, the threat is over, your life isn't in jeopardy, and you can relax. And as we do that, after 3 to 5 minutes of this, then what I coach people to do is pay attention to your spine. And I go in and do a little bit of spinal flex and extension to get that sacrum and coccyx and get the occiput to begin moving again in nice harmonious ways. So it might look like a flexion and extension after the breath work to move the spine and move the spinal fluid around so we get a nice wave of movement through there. A minute, minute and a half, 2 minutes of some spinal flexing, and you've taken care now of the biological needs of survival. So we've opened up the front of the body, we've turned on that vagal system, we've got that what's called a sacral occipital rhythm back, and we've spent about 10 minutes doing that. 3 to 5 minutes on one end, 1 to 3 minutes on the second exercise, and that meets your biological needs to reverse the stress response of survival. So that in and of itself is one dandy of a practice. It's how I start most of my patients if they've come in and they're looking for somatic solutions to their problems. I obviously do other things, but if they're looking for somatic ways to begin to release and let go and retrain and clear out digestive stuff, anxiety issues, and things like that, this is very simply how I start. I'm going to track down where is it available to breathe? Right there. I can move that. I can hang out there for 3 to 5 minutes. Then I go and I teach them how to begin to move the spine and get that cerebral spinal fluid going and release some of the stress response and the rigidities that have locked up in that survival pattern. Go in and start moving those things back and forth. You do those two things, you do that over a 5 to 7 day period, you're going to notice a tremendous change in how you feel, your energy, your survival mechanisms. You are going to actually really be resetting the system quite well. Now, the second part, anxiety-wise, is there's also in between the mind and the body is kind of this emotional territory. So for some people, they may need an expression from this anxiety. So it might be like it may be some form of vocalization, not with words, but more so with sound. Now, someone advanced could say, okay, well, let me do om humming and all those kind of things. That's fine, but I'm talking more of like the energy, the sound that comes out of the survival phase, not like a transcendent om, but like coming out of the survival phase, we can give voice to, sound to any emotions that got stored in the tissues of the body. So I might get them to do a stretch with that, like that stuff that almost keeps us a bit claustrophobic in the anxiety response, and get them to take a minute or 2 minutes and just make the sound of how anxiety feels. What is the sound of the anxiety? So that would be the second part. The third part is really all about identity. And I want to know cognitively, what am I getting? What's the value? What's the benefit to me for my body to hold these varying anxiety patterns? What's the true value in that? Because if I can extrapolate the true value in that, which I'll go over in another video on that exercise on how to do it, if I can find the value and the benefits to me experiencing anxiety that allows me to connect back in with my body, it reminds me of my health. I remember my nutrition again every time I have anxiety. I remember the people that are important in my life. Anxiety will give your brain feedback to remember what's most important to you. And we need to identify that in the identity aspect of the human being. So the anxiety goes on 3 tiers. Those are 3 tiers that I do with people regularly to help them transcend and overcome anxiety. Those 3 things, and do them in those stepwise fashion. You'll make a huge change and a huge difference The third part, though, I'll create another video for to show you exactly how I do that. But hopefully this video was valuable to you. It answers some questions about overcoming anxiety. Regardless of your scenario, we need to reset your breathing and reset the rhythm of the spine. Number two is vocalize any locked sound that got trapped in the tissue. Vocalize that, make the sound of that. And third is find the value in the actual experience of anxiety. So when you find the value in it, you're going to be less fearful of something happening in the future, and you're going to entrust that that experience was exactly what you needed in that moment. Those three things, do those, and you will notice a tremendous difference. If you found value in this, please subscribe, like, or share. Those all help these quote algorithms. So thank you so much and have a beautiful day.